Hi, everyone. My name is Georgette Truen. I am the host for Real Talk with Miss G and the Gang, and I also work for the law office of Vincent Davis. We have a few of the co-hosts today. The rest, I guess, they're having issues or connection issues. I'm assuming. So we have Dr. Fowler and we have Lizzie Boo with us, and we're going to discuss the ugly truth about CPS. So, who wants to go first? Dr. Fowler, you want to go first?
Well, thank you. Good evening. I suppose the best thing that I have to offer is just a few words about my personal experience and what brings me here.
Mm-hmm.
For your viewers that don't know, I am a grandmother, unlike most of you who are parents. And on August 23rd, 2022, CPS called me to pick up my infant granddaughter, who was 4 months old at the time. Her mother was in psychiatric distress and she had been transported to a local hospital. I picked her up and I brought her home with me. I was thrilled. I was absolutely delighted to have her with me. It wasn't a surprise that she was placed with me. And then beginning August 24th, 2022, here in Philadelphia, we call CPS DHS, Department of Human Services. A worker came to do the normal safety check on the baby the very next day. I greeted her and I requested the shelter order here in Pennsylvania under Chapter 42, 6330. When a child is taken into DHS custody, there is a hearing held, usually within 24 hours. And at the hearing, there's a judge, there's the CPS lawyers. For those of you who don't already know this, for some of you, it's repetitious. There's a social worker, and usually there's typically someone from the guardian ad litem's office. So there's about 6 different stakeholders at that hearing. You, as the kinship parent or the prospective foster parent, are never at that hearing, usually, unless it's something very unusual. You're not notified about what time the hearing occurs, but you do know that it occurs because that, of course, documents where the child has been placed. That's called a shelter order. There's also attended to that is something called a kinship award letter. Now, with the shelter order, pardon me, I am referred to as MGM, which is maternal grandmother. And the child is ordered placed with maternal grandmother. It's a boilerplate order. And then there's also usually a statement as to whether or not the parents or parent will have visitation. It'll say, in this case, it said visitation at the DHS agency. It doesn't specify when or where or what periodicity those visits are to be held because initially the goal is reunification with the parent. So the family visits facilitate that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And secondly, the second instrument is a kinship award letter. This is on city stationery. And this actually names me, it identifies me. It says, Dr. Tanya Fowler now, in my words, has the authority to resource the child as a kinship caregiver for education and medical. And the third thing that you receive is a safety plan. As you know, not to insult any of you, but the safety plan is supposed to give you numbers to call, procedures to follow in the event that there's emergency, a crisis, or an incident. So there are 3 documents that should be hand delivered to me by the agent within 72 hours. I began to ask for these documents. I was denied the documents. In this case, in Philadelphia, we have DHS, which is Department of Human Services. And then after the first contact with the child, they hand over all of the responsibilities to a subcontracting agency. And in this case, the agency is called Turning Points for Children. And it is often referred to by its descriptive term, which is a community umbrella agency. And that Turning Points or that community umbrella agency, they're located all over the city, they're given numbers. From henceforth, their responsibility is to provide all phases of oversight. They make the placement decisions, they keep the case notes, they track the parent to make sure that the parent is following their home plan and their reunification plan. They appear in court. Basically, they're in charge of everything from that point forward. This particular social worker, who's a supervisor at this particular community umbrella agency, began to refuse me the 3 documents that I need to function as a kinship parent. It's very important to me, by the way, for those of you. I have fostered about 11 other children. I've reared two other grandchildren, so I'm very experienced with raising children. And when a child comes to me, it is my personal ethic to make sure that that child has a health exam within 24 hours of being with me. Why? Even though the child might appear to be very healthy and very happy, I need to know that there may not be any other underlying condition. I need to certify that there may not be any underlying needs, dietary needs, prescriptive needs, or medical needs, and just to check in with a doctor. Well, I don't want to go to the emergency room for non-emergency room care, but in my opinion, because of how the baby was discovered, there were some potential health threats. I wanted to go for urgent care. I could not do that without being able to certify that I had the legal authority to have the baby. This social worker began to tell me, I'm not giving you those papers because I'm going to keep that baby, and I'm going to keep that baby, and I'm going to keep that baby, and I'm going to keep that baby. And I went to the nurse for DHS. I pleaded with her, can you please intervene? The baby needs to go to the doctor. Can you just get the social worker to relinquish the papers? And I'm feeding her. She's fine. I'm not feeding her the formula. You guys may remember between May, June, and July of 2022, there was a formula shortage.
Yep.
And mother had reported that the baby was sick from the regular formula that's dairy based. You couldn't get it anyway. There was none left on the shelf. What do they call it? Enfamil, Isomil, forgive me. I don't really know the names. I'm not a big fan of those per se, but I started feeding the baby what I know to feed the baby, which is an old-fashioned home remedy. Before there was formula, what do you think babies ate in the world?
Exactly.
As far as I understand, know, and believe, and I've had babies come to me. I had a great niece that came to me. She cried all the time. She was irritable all the time. She had skin rash. She had patchy hair. And I mean, the poor thing, she was horrible. She lived with me for 3 months. And what's the secret? First of all, belief in Jesus of Nazareth, who's the divine healer. I'm not a healer, but I have the hands that were given to me to heal. And I have the love that was given to me in my heart. And I happen to know also, because of our religious background, we, Jewish people really rely very heavily on apples and bananas. How about that? And from what I understand, it's either coconut milk or coconut water. Those of you who are scientists know this very well, that one or the other was given to soldiers during the war because it replicates blood plasma. Well, that's got to be pretty good stuff. So I put my granddaughter on an intensive diet with the applesauce, the bananas, the almond milk, the coconut milk, wonderful things for babies, and a splash of green drink that has all the greens in it. And the little darling, so happy, laughing all the time, sleeping through the night. I've never seen an infant just wake up singing and happy. Okay, very full, very thriving, very satisfied. And I explained that to the DHS nurse. Then, hey, you can't get this other formula, but she's doing great. Well, I found a pediatric practice on my own. After much work, I was able to triage a practice here near my house in the suburban children's hospital, and they agreed to take the baby without any of the certifying documents. How about that? Oh, joy, one would think. I informed the social worker, who grew enraged with me. She cursed at me. She threatened me. She screamed at me. I told you she's got to go to this other practice, which is clear in Philadelphia. I knew nothing about it. I assumed that it's a clinic where foster children are typically taken, but this is the Children's Hospital of Pennsylvania. They have satellite clinics all over. There's one near my house, which would actually be her home clinic. But I had to acquiesce to the social worker. I took the baby to the hospital visit, and it was a morbid disaster. By the way, for your viewers, you're already familiar with what I do by profession. By profession, I'm a doctor of biomedical anthropology. For many years, my career was built providing instruction, training, and curricular materials for physicians, nurses, therapists, and social workers. So I feel like I'm very much at home in the context of the biomedical interview. This is kind of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
To my horror, this social worker had dispatched one of her staff members to the hospital visit. What are you doing here? She was in the examining room with the three young physicians who, in my opinion, are very young, but I don't feel that they know what I know.
Can you hold that thought for a second,
Of course.
Dr. Fowler? RJ, you just mentioned you guys talk about how to beat CPS or GPS or whatever. I guess you meant to say CPS, but nothing you say can do it. First of all, this is real talk about CPS matters and the exposure of the corruption of the system, and to bring awareness to everyone as much as we can. So I am not understanding exactly what you're trying to say, because there is absolutely nothing on my show that says that I'm talking about how to beat CPS. We do provide information. I also have connection to Attorney Davis. If you want to get a hold of Attorney Davis and ask your questions, go ahead and contact the office and ask for Miss G, and I'll be able to have a meeting with you and Attorney Davis via phone. Okay, so that's all I have to say. Go ahead, Dr. Fowler.
Certainly, of course. I was very suspicious. I knew from the very beginning that this woman was trying to set me up and trying to make a claim for some kind of medical malconduct on my part as an excuse to take the baby. Spirit doesn't lie. And I've had an experience with her before from last year. So I knew perfectly well what her agenda was. And even though I knew it, I didn't know anywhere that I could go for relief, or anywhere that I could go for oversight. I was simply terrified. So here this social worker is at the medical interview, the baby's pediatric visit, on the phone with her staff member. I've never seen that before. I've never heard of that before. And as I was trying to communicate with the doctor, the baby had no health record. We don't know what the baby had. We don't know if she's had immunization. We just knew nothing. I didn't even really know her legal name because I hadn't.
Can you silence your phone, baby? Can you
I'm sorry. I thought I had it on silence. I'll turn it off. I'll type. I have it on silence, and I hear it pinging too. I'll turn it off.
Hold on, Dr. Fowler again. Hey RJ, I just finished telling you, dude, whether you're a dudette or a dude, I said call the 888 number that you see on the screen, ask for me, and I will do the appointment for you and Davis. I just finished telling you that. Oh my God. Just turn it off, or the volume all the way down.
I'm trying to turn it off, and I try to turn the volume down. Just give me 1 second. It's a little rebellious. It does what it wants to do, and yeah, it's trying to go off. Okay, let's see. Yes, this phone's. So I do beg your pardon, everyone. The phone makes you look so rude. There we go. It finally went off. It's a little bit like a golem. And in Jewish folklore, you have a monster. They've made a monster that defended the people, and then the monster it wouldn't die. Okay, so at any rate, the social worker is insinuating to the medical staff that I'm not feeding the baby properly. She's invoking the name of the DHS nurse and saying, yes, the nurse said that she's not feeding the baby properly. That's not at all what I said to the nurse. Meanwhile, the little doctors, the young ladies who are the doctors, are transcribing this very damaging information. And I'm sitting there going, what kind of a world am I living in? A few weeks, a couple of years ago, I would be their instructor, giving them instruction on how to diagnose with respect to culture and not just tissue and cell.
I want to say something. I want to say something about what you just said right now. You're right about that. You're right about the culture. And you're right about, first of all, you're a grandmother. You raise children. And my grandmother knew more than the doctors knew. My grandmother literally healed us kids with natural medication, like natural herbs and all this. And, I remember I used to have a severe cough, and she would give me something hot to drink. It tasted like rosemary and honey. And I would drink it at night. My mom would rub my chest with Vicks and then my feet with Vicks, put socks on. I sweat everything at night, and then I wake up like nothing happened. Nothing happened. But the pharmaceutical companies is what the government wants us to depend on. And that's why they medicate children. That's why they misdiagnose children. And they say grandmothers don't know what they're doing. This woman is not a this woman, Dr. Fowler, she's educated. She's raised children. So for a social worker to question her ability to feed a child, that's just telling her, you know what, you suck. You don't know what you're doing. And that's what they want to do. They want to discredit you as a grandmother. They want to discredit you as a mom. They want to discredit you as a human being. And they're the only one that stand out. And also, before you finish that, Dr. Fowler, the laws in Pennsylvania, that's where you're from, correct?
Yes.
The Pennsylvania laws states how Pennsylvania CPS does not always have the right to take this drastic action, removing children from their home is an extreme measure and only allowed under specific circumstances. For CPS employee to take custody of your child, they must have a valid court order based on evidence. This is what I need to make sure you guys are aware of. Is based on evidence that the child is in imminent danger. However, the police, a doctor, a director of the hospital or medical facility may have the right to take your child into protective custody without a court order if there is an evidence of imminent danger or pursuant to your or another adult arrest. So basically, and this goes to for every state. They also in Pennsylvania, they said that family first comes placement, meaning when the child is in imminent danger with the mom or the dad or another sibling or whatever, their sibling by law has to be placed with family members first. They come first. Grandmothers, number one, the maternal grandmother comes first. But what do? They terminate the rights of the mother first because they know when they terminate the rights of the mom, automatically the grandmother's rights is terminated. You guys didn't know that. But that's how they operate. They terminate the mother's rights, automatically the mother's mother, which is the maternal grandmother's rights, is also terminated. And that's why it's very important to understand this. Even if you hate your mom, even if you don't approve of your mom discipline when you were growing up, would you rather have your child placed in custody of a stranger or placed in with your mom? I mean, that's a question you guys need to ask yourselves. But if the mother didn't beat you and didn't inject your body with all kinds of drugs and force you, like, to lock you up in the room, all she was just being strict on you, or maybe take your phone from you when she was disciplining you or whatever. That's not hate, man. That's like teaching you, hey, you disrespected me, there is consequences behind your actions. That's teaching you not to hurt you or not to hate you. But if she's beating you to death and she's taking food away from you, locking you up, and burning your skin and tying you to beds, I understand if you hate her. But damn. Because to me, I would rather see the child with my mom than with anyone else. And the maternal grandmother is very dear also because, my mom, for example, she treated our kids with, I think she loved them more than she loved us, to be honest with you. Because I came to a point when I was growing up, like I was, when I had my first child, I was in my 20s, and I said, wait a minute. I was like the baby of the family. Now I'm no longer the baby of the family. So that child became everything to my mom and dad. Everything. So to me, there is genuine love. But sometimes when the mother is on so much drugs and they're not helping themselves heal and stop the madness, they're not going to make the right decisions in their lives. And I told you guys before, drugs is only to keep you numbed and to keep you in the dark. I am against it 100%. 100%. So, Dr. Fowler, I know most of you guys, some of you guys heard her story. But when she was on the show, the first time I met her, I like after the show, I think I cried. And I told Davis, I was like, what is this? This is crazy. How can they not see this woman to be the right fit for that baby? It doesn't make no sense to me whatsoever. But what do the social workers do when the mother of the child is against her own mother? They see that as an opportunity to sabotage every chance and discredit the law. The law states family gets placement. It doesn't say if the mother hates her mom, then the mom shouldn't have, the grandmother shouldn't have placement. That's BS. It doesn't say that. So I just wanted to make that point across, you guys. Just make sure you understand this. But go ahead, Miss Fowler. Go ahead and let us know the rest, please.
Thank you so very kindly, Miss Georgette. Uh, During the course of this, finishing with this medical interview, which was an absolute disaster, with a social worker basically screaming and short of cursing that the baby has lost weight. How could we know the baby's lost weight when the baby didn't have a health record? There was no pediatric record. In fact, I wasn't given anything that actually showed the baby's true legal name. I call her the name I want to call her because I don't see any, I've never seen a birth certificate. The mother and I had discussed her name, and I called her what the amalgamation of names that I thought that we agreed on. Nonetheless, so I didn't like that health visit at all. It wasn't constructive. As soon as I began to ask for the things that are important, for example, I asked for referral for neuro testing because of genetic loading for certain conditions with the other two grandchildren. I asked for placenta testing to touch on what you're talking about, Miss Georgette, because the mother was a drug user while the baby was in utero. And for those of you who may know or may not know, I think generally hospitals, I hope not to misspeak, are required to conduct placenta testing when the child is born. And that would give us a map of what kinds of chemical substances were in the mother that the baby was exposed to in utero, which could potentially help us to map out the health care and the health needs going forward. Also, I have originated in my own practice something that I call mapping. Mapping begins from day one. And it's just kind of common sense, like your grandmother would do in a sense. And that means you just begin to track what the baby's needs are until they're 5, and you begin to plan what you think their individual pediatric needs may be. We needed the neurologist. We needed genetic testing. We needed the placenta testing so that we could avert any early developmental problems or catch any developmental problems. Also, just an aside, in my training and education 100 years ago, we were trained as educators to take children. The very first thing that you do with children, back then we had something called eye, ear, nose, and throat practices. Literally, you would take the child and you would get a much more comprehensive evaluation of eye, ear, nose, and throat. And those assessments are key to pediatric development, to visual acuities, and also to cognitive development. So I just happen to have these things in my toolkit But it's all being ignored by the team because the social worker is here at the medical interview screaming over me and alleging that I'm not doing the right thing by my granddaughter, who was found with her mother in a public bathroom. The OPC, the Order for Protective Custody, describes her mother as being in a, quote, comatose and unresponsive condition. Those are not my words. So with the baby. But here she is in the loving arms of her grandmother, her brother's here, my brother's here, and we're overly thrilled to have this wonderful new soul. So for someone to even begin to allege anything against me, so we leave the interview. She's then, we had a family visit scheduled that day. This social worker is tracking me and stalking me. She's literally on my phone. Where are you? Where are you? You're not here yet. I'm not due at the family visit yet. That's a different story. Meanwhile, for those of you, this is a little more intriguing. I don't want to burden you with too many details, but earlier in the month of August, before the baby was placed with me, I had begun the process to obtain a protection from abuse order. Some of you may know it as a stay away order or a protection order to keep the mother away from myself and the 3 children. We have a very extended history of violence and assault and abuse, physical abuse committed against myself and the other 2 grandchildren, with threats that are real threats of kidnapping the baby. She's kidnapped the other 2 grandchildren. This has just been a very extensive journey with the parent who has psychiatric poor health in the acute range with alcohol and drug use. So once I obtained the PFA, I informed the social worker, as I had been directed to do by the advocate that was assigned by the courts in my county, and I was thrilled. Thank you, Jesus. We don't have to go to these family visits. I know it's going to be horrible. The social worker grew enraged. She screamed. She cursed. You dirty Jew.
Oh my God.
You filthy Jew. I can't say this online. You filthy effing Jew. I'm going to get that baby. I'm going to get that baby. My protection from abuse order was granted to me by a court in my county by a lovely judge, an amazingly insightful judge who attached full physical and legal custody of all of the grandchildren to the protection from abuse order. Why? She was wonderfully insightful, because if I have to call the police on the offending party and the police come, if I only have the PFA, I'm protected. But if I don't have full physical and legal custody of the children are not protected by the PFA. This judge saw that and gave that. I was dancing out of the court. I could hardly contain myself when I got this lovely protection package. Well, Miss Social Worker in Philadelphia, in another jurisdiction, contacted the advocate here and tried to get her to get the court to take away my custody and to take down the baby's protection from abuse. And she almost got away with it. They didn't do it, but I had a lawyer at the time and the emails came to me. And I was able to actually obtain my final protection from abuse order. Once she found out that, again, she was enraged. She went to court, to the dependency hearing. My lawyer was there, I was not there. She testified that I had obstructed the family visits. She testified that I got the PFA just to avoid the family visits.
Wow.
She got the
judge. You didn't disclose all of that on the show before, by the way. When I had you on the first show with me and Davis, you didn't disclose everything.
No, I didn't, because I don't know how much time you have, and I don't want to convolute, your
Right.
time with too many of the details.
You have a very good lawsuit, Dr. Fowler. You do. I hear a lot, and I can tell when someone has a good lawsuit and someone doesn't. And you have a very good lawsuit.
So I was thinking too, she has a pretty good lawsuit on her hands there.
Yeah, because this woman, honestly, I would trust my baby with her.
Yeah,
I would.
definitely. She seems like a very good person for her.
Yeah, I'll be at good, like I'll be like sleeping, peacefully because I know she's gonna be hands on. Yeah,
Well,
it's,
and being that Dr. Fowler comes from, a medical background, that would also be very helpful in a child that, could potentially have medical issues due to drug, whatever, maybe not just drug. I mean, there could be other things play into, a child having something else medically. But Dr. Fowler would be able to, in those conditions, as with what she has knowledge of and certifications of, be able to put that into works
mhm,
for that child,
mhm.
which would be a good standing point for that child being there, or even anybody for that matter. I mean, even somebody older.
We
Um,
need to we need to help you find a civil attorney in Pennsylvania. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna call around. I know a juvenile dependency attorney that he watched my show the other day, and not the other day, but a month ago, with Attorney Davis. He contacted me. He's in Pennsylvania, but he has so many cases right now. He doesn't want me to bombard him with more exposure right now, but I can talk to him and see what he can do for you because you need to sue them. You have to sue them. You can't.
there's one that I know that's probably fairly close. Michael Angeletti.
Oh yeah, you know Michael Angeletti?
Hmm.
He's a good civil attorney
Yeah, he does very good on what he does.
And
in Pennsylvania.
he's in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
Yes, he is.
Hey Lizzie,
Yes.
put his name and his number in a private chat, and I'm gonna share it with everybody.
Okay. Do you like the private, like in the chat in the thingy here?
Hmm.
Okay. Let me pull it up because I don't know it by heart.
Thank you. I
You're
would. I
welcome.
have been. I have a strong desire.
But don't try to do this on your own, Dr. Fowler. A lot of people think they can file their own cases.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
Believe me, it
I
doesn't
already.
work.
I already know that this kind of civil
Yeah.
filing is way outside of my league. I've done a lot of my own lawyering. In fact, since I've met you, I've written all of my own pleadings and motions, and I've had to really take the lawyers to school. About 23, 53, 24. I usually end up having to inform them, but you still need someone to stand up with you in the court. And any referral that you make would be most greatly appreciated. I adore family. In our belief system, my granddaughter is a returning ancestor. She's not just a child. I have a connection to her like no other.
Mhm.
Pardon me for going on, but if I can, uh, the social worker alleged that I was obstructing the family visits. The judge told her, well, if I do that, to take the baby. She heard that as just take the baby, take the baby. The family visit was scheduled. I had sworn in my testimony to obtain the PFA that a certain party had threatened to harm the baby. She threatened to poison the baby right in front of the workers at the family visits. She threatened to poison the baby or put something wrongful in the baby's food so that the baby would get sick, so that it would look like I made the baby sick, so that she could claim that I made the baby sick, so that she could get the baby taken from me and put into foster care.
Mhm.
Because in her mind, if the baby's in foster care, it's easier for her to manipulate the social workers and leverage the situation so that she can get the baby returned to her so that she can use the baby for benefits.
Mhm.
I couldn't make this up.
Mhm.
And we have a history that verifies this. Sure enough, on the family visit where I was screamed at and cursed at by this social worker, dirty Jew, get out of here. I had my brother with me, who is my attendant. When we came to pick the baby up, I brought the baby home. Her clothes were stolen. Her food was gone. I called a certain party and said, what happened to her food? Well, something green was in it.
Oh my God.
and you weren't feeding her. She had her hands in her mouth. Well, my dear,
My God.
babies go through something called the oral stage where everything goes in their mouth. That's part of human development. It's the first stage, early stage of development. And she was hungry. When babies are hungry, they cry.
Yeah.
And hungry babies at 4 months old don't sleep through
Nope.
the night.
No, they don't.
Most babies don't sleep through the night. But I can see them building a case. So she was permitted, just as I said, to
She
take
just wanted that baby, Dr. Fowler. She wanted that baby to be adopted. Period. That's what they want.
All right. So I staged a bit of a queue. Oh, well, I'm sorry. So the social worker sent her worker to my home unannounced on a particular evening. We were just sitting here. She's enraged with me. What do you want? I want the baby. Give her that baby. I have the date and the time here in my book.
Mm-hmm.
I called the police. The police came and made her leave.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I go to Philadelphia, I take my brother with me. I pay him as a bodyguard.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I'm afraid, but I'm terrified of this woman. I'm literally afraid of her. I'm not easily scared. I've been in some rumbles in my life for a little old country girl from Ohio. But this woman, and I've dealt with shooters, people of arsonists. None of them have frightened me the way that this lady does. You can see her
You can
hate.
feel the demonic vibe. They're demonic. They're demonic.
Her malevolence is
Yeah.
palpable.
Mm-hmm.
It's palpable. But so nonetheless, thank you for tolerating that little bit of an aside. She's calling me every day. I'm going to take that baby. I'm going to take that baby. I'm going to take that baby. She alleged that she went to the court and she alleged that I was a problem at the baby's doctor visit. So she was actually able to get the judge to issue a stay away order, ordering me to
Wow.
stay away from my granddaughter's medical visit,
Wow.
to stay away from her agency. That order is still standing. I have never had a stay away order issued against me in my entire life.
Let me ask you something, Dr. Feller. Did the pediatrician say that you did something? I
Oh,
mean, did
thank
he
you.
or she file something or
You're gonna love this. The
okay?
pediatric report came back improper feeding.
What?
The medical team was corrupted.
Oh,
They're in it.
because
They
they took
wrote improper feeding.
Did they take them to their own medical team?
Well, this was her place that she wanted me to go. This wasn't where I had arranged to
that's
take the
CPS.
baby.
That's the
Right,
CPS, right?
Right. So I then took the baby to my clinic in my vicinity for her lab work. Things were fine. Now, on that occasion, because it's way out here in my county, I didn't have my brother with me that day.
Mm.
October the 7th. I thought I would be there at 9:30 that morning. And I thought, oh, should we go? I decided to go at 11 o'clock. When I walked and the lab technician kept saying, don't you want to feed her in here? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I'm just going to we're going to be here all day, because I had planned to sit down with the neurologist and the whole pediatric team. And the first thing that I wanted was for them to pull out that record and let's go over the record and make the corrections in the record. You cannot assert that there's improper feeding.
Mm-hmm.
And she has no health record prior to mine, so you cannot assert that she lost weight. And I saw discrepancies, you see, when I was looking at this record, and I wanted it corrected. I wanted to start the mapping. As soon as I walked out of the lab to go down the hall, here is the social worker. Here's the supervisor social worker. What are you doing here? Oh, you stalked me. She stalked me. How in the world I didn't know myself I was going to be at the hospital that morning. My family members didn't know. The social worker's the supervisor's on the phone. She directs the worker to force me to open the baby's diaper bag and portray her food. when she saw that there was the little 2-ounce container of applesauce that the baby food comes in, it's tiny like this. I had put it in the bottle because what do I do at home? I mix it with the bananas and the warm formula. I showed her the warm formula. She told the worker to take the baby from me. She's not allowed to have 2 ounces of applesauce. She said she can only have 1 ounce of applesauce. And she did take the baby. I was stark raving terrified. I really didn't even think, I swear to my living hot God, it did not even occur to me that day to call the police. Why? I didn't even think of it.
Because you're
I couldn't think of it. The only thing in the back of my mind is I'm going to go home and she's going to have the sheriff at my house.
oh my God.
And I can't go to jail. I just kept thinking I just can't go to jail. What am I going to do for my family? She took the baby. I've never seen the baby since. The baby's been denied family contact. Baby's been denied what we call family find, which is what you were just talking about, Miss Georgette.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that even if she thought that there was probable cause, I don't think applesauce is probable cause. But even if she thought there was probable cause, the baby was supposed to have identified another family member. And based on Mr. Davis's advisement, last year when my other grandson was in foster care, I submitted that list of 25 relatives. So they have that list. She has it at her disposal. So the baby's been denied family find. The baby is in foster care, anonymous foster care. The baby certainly hasn't had any treatment for her seizures. The baby has a seizure disorder. They're called, by the way, for people who may or may not know. When you discover autism in early childhood, and there's also been a history of substance abuse in utero, children may sometimes present with seizures, and they're called absent seizures if they're the mild seizures.
Mm-hmm.
We all know what we're looking at with the grand mal seizures,
Mm-hmm.
full spectrum seizure where the person's on the floor and all the rest. And, they're spasmodic. The absent seizures are very different, and they look different in different children. My oldest grandson had them, and sometimes it kind of looks like he's suddenly stopping and he's staring into space. With the baby, her hands would start to shake. So the baby has had, imagine this. If you, Miss Georgette, or anyone on your team or anyone in the world stole a baby in the middle of a medical visit, they would be in jail so long they would never see the light of day again.
Mm-hmm.
The baby has been injured medically because I'm 1,000% sure she hasn't had any treatment for her seizures because she was stolen in the middle of, before she could see the neurologist. So there we stand. I've been to court. I've been to every dependency hearing. The judge swears me in with my family and makes me leave the courtroom. This judge did say to file for custody. I filed for custody. The next hearing after that, he didn't come to court. The last hearing after that, he did come to court, but he insisted that he didn't have the petition delivered to him the way that he thought it would. He kept holding up a folder like this and going, I don't have the file pack. I don't have the file pack. Well, of course he hasn't. You know, I know, we all know, all of your viewers know that when you file any petition, you take it to the court, the clerk takes it, they dutifully stamp it, it's date stamped, it's given a sticker, it's given a number, and it goes immediately into the system, and within a very short time, it's uploaded to the docket. You cannot not have it. He said he didn't have it. He instructed my lawyer to deliver it to his chambers physically, which my lawyer did do. He wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
The staff wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
He was told, my lawyer was told to mail it. He did. It's sitting there in judges' chambers. It's been weeks.
Mm-hmm.
We have no court date for the custody. The next appearing date.
Oh, Dr. Fowler, I'm so sorry.
Thank you. I see that praying for me. Thank you so much. Just please pray for the baby. Pray for me too, because I don't know how much longer I can take the agony of wondering what's going on with the little person in the world.
That's love right there, guys. That's love. You would never see a social worker cry for a baby like this, or a foster parent like this. This is love. This woman is stressed because she wants to be heard. She wants to be heard. She wants somebody to understand her, because the courts apparently are sitting on a fucking bench making stupid orders based on nonsense, and then they call themselves judges. There's the dumbest shit. First of all, I told you guys this before. Stupid. I call them stupid because stupid, you see the truth in front of you. You hear it, and you still deny it. And you still believe the lies that comes out of the social worker's mouth. Sane judges are supposed to do checks and balances. Sane judges are supposed to see that grandmother right there in court, fighting for her grandchild. See that she's the best interest for that child, because the mother is crazy right now with drugs. She doesn't know what's right and what's wrong at the moment. So to me, just to adopt a child in a stranger's home, to me, for money, you can't be human. You can't be human, because that means you value money more than anything, or even God. That means you don't even have God in your heart. You don't even know who he is. To me, that is the most demonic act you could ever do to a parent, especially a mother or a grandmother, for the love of God. I mean, to me, I can't process that. I honest to God don't know that. I don't know what else to say, because my stomach hurts when I hear stuff like that. It hurts. It really freaking hurts. Just to see her cry, it hurts. It hurts. So we all need to, please, I'm begging you. I'm going to have Dr. Fowler finish, but I just want you guys to really support and bring awareness and help us do this with your friends and family, and even people at work. Please have them listen, because they never know when it will happen to them. And believe me, don't think you're off the hook. Don't think because you're educated that you're off the hook. Anyone can make a report, even your worst enemy. Like, you could have a fight with your best friend, or she retaliates against you, makes a report, a false report, and then or an ex-boyfriend's girlfriend, or it doesn't, or a neighbor, because they don't like your dog, or because they don't like you. And you have children, they will make that report. Believe me. They will do that. And then you are lost. You don't know what to do. This is why I want everyone to share this with everyone. Please, I'm begging you. But go ahead, Dr. Fowler.
Thank you. I think that summarizes the most of the story. We're still waiting for the judge to assign me a hearing date for the custody that I've applied for. Mm-hmm. He's ignored the fact that I already had custody. It wasn't through the custody court through the family court portal, but I still had custody, which is custody. And the next dependency hearing is not until May the 2nd. The one thing the judge did do, and I'm terrified that we have to wait till May the 2nd to a dependency hearing. And even then, he still has the option of swearing me in and making me leave the courtroom again and not even hearing the petition. Here in Pennsylvania, they have 15 months to wrap it up, and that's because you know why, because that's when the money dries up. Uh-huh. They were supposed to make a decision to change the goals within 5 months when it's clear that mother is not a candidate for reunification. But why? Because the money stream is still open. My terror after listening to your other guest and these other lovely parents was that they would try to put the baby on the path for adoption. One positive thing I can say with great joy and great relief, several lawyers have told me that I cannot apply for adoption until after the dependency matter is concluded. But I have a very good lawyer. I'm allowed to name him. He said I could. He's a lovely person. He's done the best that he can. He also agreed to come on to Attorney Davis's show. He's an a mature gentleman who's been a practitioner of many years, a lovely humanitarian. And he's the only lawyer who hasn't taken me to the cross with money, in terms of excessively charging me and burdening me.
Mhm.
So I was able to give him, praise the Lord, a retainer today to file the termination of rights and the adoption, which are two for your viewers who do not know. If you are interested in adoption and you are a grandparent or someone like me or a family member and you want adoption, at least here in Pennsylvania, there has to be 2 petitions filed. They have to be filed at the same time. Sometimes they're heard at the same time, maybe not. The first is the termination of the parent's parental rights.
Mhm.
It's a little different than taking away their custody. Termination of rights, or people who don't know, not to insult people, but termination of rights means that's it. The door's closed. There's never any reunification between the parent and that child. And then, of course, adoption means adoption. Now, these, to my joy, these filings are not done in family court. They won't go before the same judge. They're filed here in Philadelphia court called Orphans Court.
Uh-huh.
And for those of you who are not familiar with Orphans Court, it may not matter to you at all. But when Benjamin Franklin established Philadelphia, he established Orphans Court, which is really for estates, for children and decedents to get their inheritances.
Wow.
Right. So,
Well, I didn't know this, by the way. This is good.
I see. Yes.
This is really good information, by the way.
Thank you. You might remember reading in some of the Charles Dickens novels about the children whose fathers died and they were orphans and they were trying to get their inheritance. And they had administrators of the estates that would sometimes cheat them out of the inheritance or would take years to get it. Benjamin Franklin set up Orphans Court for that very purpose, so that children and other family members could have a system by which they could receive their inheritance.
Correct.
Marriages are done at Orphans Court and adoptions are done at Orphans Court. But the beautiful part is this is a separate court. It has nothing to do with family court. We won't be at 1515 Arch Street, which to me is a chamber of horrors. 1515 Arch Street, you don't want to ever go there. That's family court. This, for those of you who know, is very modest. It's $10,000. That's my retainer fee for this. Fortunately, Attorney Keenhill is allowing me to make payments. He said I could mention his name. So that's the good part. He says that for the termination of rights.
He's in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, he is. His attorney.
Why don't you bring him on the show so people can ask him questions in Pennsylvania law? Pennsylvania, laws when it comes to CPS matters. I think that would be great, Dr. Fowler.
I would love to do that.
Yes.
He's a lovely person.
I think
he
that's
guarantees me that we're going to get the baby. And he's just really he's worked with me. What kind of a lawyer comes to pick you up to take you to court? At one point, he actually came to our house and drove me to court. I mean, so I have every confidence in Attorney Keenhill. And one of the things that I really like about Attorney Keenhill is that he doesn't act like he knows it all. And even though he's been doing this for 30 years, I was able to call things and add things and enhance things to our petitions. And he accepted it. He did the research. So I don't know too many lawyers who are humble enough and intelligent enough to want to learn. In fact, giving Mr. Davis credit, when Mr. Davis, I went with you and Mr. Davis, and we talked about the motion to reconsider. Because I had submitted a motion to intervene. Again, for those of you who don't know, for your viewers who don't know, when there's an open dependency matter, at least here again in Pennsylvania, you can't go to court. I mean, you can go to court, but you cannot be in the courtroom during the proceedings. You cannot hear any testimony because you're not a party to the matter. You actually have to file a petition to become a party. Even though I'm grandma, and the judge keeps telling me, your resource, keep coming to court, go file for custody. Technically, I'm still not a party. But the judge allowed Attorney Keenhill to sit in the court during the last hearing. I was made to leave. And Attorney Keenhill was able to hear the testimony that the other party is not, of course, we know. She has now been ordered to stay away from the baby because she's finally been considered an endangerment to the baby, which is terrible family situation, but it verifies what I've already testified.
Mhm.
And that's the status of things. So the good part is we will, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing with the termination of rights. That is a trial. And then the adoption is a hearing. I'm not entirely sure. When I think of trial, I think of jury. It's not a jury trial, it's a trial. I would love a jury trial. but so that's the positive part. And that took a relief off of my back today to find out that at least we'll have that as a backup.
Mhm.
And in the meantime, in the name of Jesus of Nazareth, all the angels and the creative God force, my heart and my love goes out to every single family, every child in captivity, every descendant of every child in captivity, because when your children are in captivity, you are in captivity too. And it passes on across the generations. And I pray for the uplift of every child to know that they really are loved. I pray for every parent who spent night and day like I have in torment to be released from their torment. I pray that through you, Miss G, your lovely people that are on your show, Mr. Davis and the followers, that this movement
Mhm.
will gain the attention and the momentum and the power and the majesty that it deserves. Let my children go.
Mhm.
I
Amen.
pray for the nice people compared to the social worker who are cartels, who apologized. Forget about their motive. They apologized for a murder. They're better people. You know why? Because the system that they're involved with is anonymous. It's not as personal as people coming into your home and stealing your children through a system. And anything that I can do, of course, in my own case, but also any contribution that I can make to this movement, I am available. God, the Lord, we in the South, they say the Lord put a burden on you. That's a Southern expression. It's a folk expression. And it means that you have a calling.
That is true.
And this is a calling that I have really wanted to not have. I don't want to see your show anymore because every time I see it, it tears my heart open.
I know.
I'm super empathic. I don't want to hear your story anymore
Mhm.
or your other people. That's not what I want to wake up to.
Mhm.
But if you can bear the pain, I'm here.
Hard. It's hard.
That's the Christ calling.
It's very hard.
That's why we're here, though, to love one another. And when I think about the generations and how this is a generational curse, because once you've been captive in the foster system and you're trapped for years, I don't think you ever come back.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like soldiers who have seen hard warfare. They leave the battlefield, but it never leaves them.
Nope, it doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's very hard. People don't understand. It's very, very hard. It's very hard. But Lizzie, that attorney you were talking about, I want you to call him and have him come on the show so he can also help us and help people in Pennsylvania as well. Okay.
I
And
can
Dr.
definitely see if he's willing to do that. Yeah. I
I'm
don't
not
want to
gonna
force
post
him,
him.
but
I'm not going to post him right now until you find out.
yeah.
And then let me know. And then
Mhm.
Dr. Fowler is also going to ask her attorney to also join us. I think having a team of attorneys is better than
Yeah.
none.
Yep.
And also, once you guys do that, I would like to have Attorney Davis with us on that show because he would love to also make sure that he refers people to them as well. Okay, so
I can
let
definitely check with him. Yep.
yeah, so let's do that, and then Dr. Fowler, I'm going to remind you because you have a lot going on, and I can understand if you might forget, but I'm going to remind you. Okay.
Thank you so much. I had already asked Attorney Keenhill, and he consented. He was glad about the idea. And for those of you, his name is Mark, and he's got a very unusual name.
Yeah,
It's
but I would like him to talk to us first. I would like people to hear him first.
perfect.
I think that would be perfect. And I'm sure he can do it from his office. You know, all he needs is a link and he logs in. He knows what to do.
That would be perfect. That
Yeah,
would
I
be
think
really
that
perfect.
would.
Down there on the cord.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that Grace or Georgette could send him the link if need be.
Yeah.
Thank
All I
you.
need is his email address. All we need is his email address, and I can send Grace the email, and then she can.
That's perfect. And I thank you ahead of time for your continuing patience with me because my computer skills are like I can turn the computer on.
I know.
So,
Dr. Fowler. I'm
that's
beginning to learn that about you.
so,
It's okay, Dr. Fowler. Some
Dealing
days
with
I
my
feel the same
mother.
way.
I know.
also, I've been wanting to hire myself out for espionage or something like that with the government because believe me, if it's some kind of a mechanical device and it works, all I have to do is come near it and it won't work anymore. So, I've got hidden talent. So they should send me in anywhere that they want something not to work, like behind enemy lines or something. I just have to stand
Yeah.
there. It'll
Yeah.
freeze.
It will freeze. I know. I know. But Lizzie, I know that you mentioned something the other day about a story that you heard about CPS.
Oh, are you referring to where there's counties in Pennsylvania currently under severe watch
Yes.
federally? Yeah.
Yes. Share that with the people that are living in Pennsylvania. Maybe they need to hear that.
So I know Allegheny County and Adams County, Pennsylvania, are currently under severe federal watch, which is CPS. If everybody wants to know, it's a CPS agents, not not anything else. But they have killed children in their hands. I mean, it's just downright. It's unbelievable. Some of the stuff, especially people that don't know CPS and the life behind CPS and all the stuff they do. Children are not safe in their hands. That's just the dead reality. Now I can't say that for all CYS. I can't say that for every worker. There's some good workers, but there's a lot of overall bad workers. So those two right now are currently under federal high up supervision investigation type deal right now. I don't know, haven't heard, as far as where they're at in it. They said there will be more of an update in, I think it was May, as to more of the overall consequences or charges, I guess you could say, that they're going to be receiving. So I guess I won't know more of the investigation much other than they're under that until May-ish sometime. I forget what date it was. I'll have to look back at that. That was May sometime. So just for everybody to be aware, like those two agencies in Pennsylvania, just fair warning everybody, like they're already under, high levels of supervision. They'll try to deny that most likely. I mean, I don't know that. I'm sure they would. But they're not going to want people just to know that. So, I just want to make everybody aware that CPS is not what you think it is, and do not allow them to take your child, come in your home without a warrant and court order. Especially because they think they got the power. That's the thing. They think they've got so much power above everybody else. But in the truth of reality, they can be held as accountable as anybody else. If they, yes, they might say they have immunity, but that only holds true when they're abiding by the law. So when they break that, their immunity is gone. It's out the door. They can be held accountable. They might think they can't, but in reality, they can be held accountable just as much as anybody else.
You know, you guys, I want to also, I know I said this before. I know a lot of you guys are having problems finding the right attorney in your state. I am coming up with what I do. This is what I do. So after 5 o'clock, after, you know, sorry. After 3 o'clock, what I start doing is I start looking at the list that I have and I start calling people and leaving them messages, attorneys. We're talking about Ohio, Utah, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, whatever. I'm trying to get a list of attorneys and get a list of people that can be able to get these help from them. Okay, because oftentimes when you call an attorney, they say it's a conflict of interest. So how many conflict of interest are we going to hear? And why is it a conflict of interest? I always ask. One attorney told me it's a conflict of interest because it's the term that they use when they don't want to do anything with the case because they want to be judges one day.
When
And
is enough of that, right?
Well, they don't want the state to retaliate against them. I guess
Mhm.
they want the votes of the wrong people.
Mm.
That's what it is.
So they're
And
trying to get the public attention for the wrong side of it, pretty much.
correct. So I'm trying to find a group of people that are not afraid to stand up for what is right. We
Yep.
need to stand up for what is right, you guys, because oftentimes I hear people say, "No, I'm scared, Miss G. I don't want to, I don't want to. I'm scared to talk." But fear is not from God. Really, fear is not from God. If Biden was standing in front of me right now, I'm going to look at him and say, "You're an idiot." That's what I would be doing. And believe me, those of you that know me, I would do it. Because he sheds just
You
like I
would,
do.
Georgette.
He sneezes like I do. So to me, what makes you powerful? Only God is powerful. He's nothing.
Yep.
He's just human. But he has a title that makes him entitled to fuck with us. And that's what it is. So all these titles, you guys, I want you to think of this. We, the people, is way more powerful than a title.
If we all come together.
We the people. That's way big letters. We the people are the ones paying for you.
We have to come together.
We have
That's
to come.
the only way to get the corruption overturned.
Somebody made just a good point right here. God is out of this God is out of this what God he can't. I'm not understanding what that means. In my book, God is not out of anything. God doesn't create evil. God didn't make this happen to you or us. God didn't say, go ahead and hurt people. However, God gave us the freedom to choose our path. Remember that. You guys seem to think because of circumstances that we have to blame God for what we're dealing with now. No.
It's almost like that's like God is out of this. What God? He can't. Like they're almost like in a sense that it's almost like they're trying to say there is no God. Is what I would take that as.
I'm
But
not
maybe
sure.
not.
I'm not sure what he or she is trying to say. But
For the
I'm not
purposes,
going to assume. Yeah, I'm not going to assume. But I'm just have to put it out there because honestly, I hear a lot of moms say, "Oh well, there is no God because God. If God exists, why isn't He helping me? God exists. That's why you're breathing. However, Satan, demons exist. They take over people who are really dark inside, who are bankrupt from themselves.
Mhm.
They take a hold of them because remember, a demon needs a body to host in it. We can't just host on the ground with no body to host, or an animal, a pig. The point I'm trying to make is that God gave us instructions. It's up to you. It's up to your faith. It's up to your passion
Mhm.
about God to overcome this and to stand strong and wear the whole armor of God, meaning you pray, you fast, you ask. So don't blame it on God. God didn't tell you to marry him. God warned you from these people before. God warned you from the man you had a child with. He sent you plenty of people to warn you. We send you plenty of people to warn you about the bad friends you hang out with, about your actions with others. So we have to take accountability for our own actions and understand just because shit happens doesn't mean God made it happen. God said, hey, you have right, left. Which way do you want to go? I'm not going to make you love me. I'm not going to make you trust me. And I'm not going to make you come to me. Therefore, hey, it's up to us to make that decision. And God is not going to say, hey, you better love me or you're going to be in pain. No, you create that pain. It's either you know him or you don't know him. But don't blame things on God. I hate it when I hear that. I hate it 100% when I hear people say that. Because before I finish that, what is that sound in the background? TV's on. What is it? I hear something. I hear voices. Are you serious? Let me see. It's Dr. Fowler. I muted you and I hear it. What is it?
Maybe
Somebody. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna
something
mute you. I'm gonna mute you. Hold on. So when you guys go through a situation, please understand when you humble yourself, pray. I mean, I have a bad knee right now. I can't even. Oh my God! I can't even pick anything up from the under the couch. I was acting like a 90-year-old trying to get up. But try to humble yourself and don't go back to your old habits. Remember, the devil, demons want you drugged. They want you to all these drugs introduced to you guys from the cartels. Look how the cartels behave. They kill people. They introduce drugs to the world. Anyone that has the passion to hurt and destroy and kill, that is the qualification of Satan. He comes to destroy and kill and divide. That's Satan. So demons need a body to interact with to make all this chaos exist in the world. But we, the people, tend to fall for these people. Why? Because we have issues. And right away, Satan tells you, hey, the best thing to do is drink yourself to sleep. You're going to drink yourself to sleep because in your mind, he convinced you that, hey, he's putting it out there. He's not telling you to, he's not pushing you to do it. Satan is very clever. He introduces the thought. You hear and you implement. But if you can distinguish between God and Satan voice, you will understand this is not God telling you to do this. This is not God. This is the enemy that wants to destroy you. Because once you're destroyed, you're done. You're not awake anymore. You're not in the light anymore. You're in the darkness. And we are supposed to be the light of the earth, not the darkness. We're supposed to shine over darkness. So one person, I can honestly tell you, I have a problem with myself. When somebody lies to me more than 3 times, I tend to never, ever, 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 ever want to know them again. I don't even want to pray for them. That's a problem I have, and I need to work on that. I don't forgive. I just let go. I completely disconnect from that person, and I will never, ever, ever want to know them again. But oftentimes when I pray, God puts it in my heart. You need to forgive. You need to forgive. Because forgiveness is not for them. Forgiveness is for you to move on. I moved on. I don't even think about them. But I have a problem forgiving them. And that is my problem. And we all have issues. We just need to fix it. We need to acknowledge it. We need to be better people, and help one another. Love people. Help them. Help them from your heart. Don't just help them for you to gain fake friendship. See, people do things to gain something. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Do it from your heart. Love your neighbor just like you love yourself. Don't do harm to them because you don't want harm to come to you. Don't lie to people. Tell them the truth. I tell you guys the truth. I literally speak my mind. I don't care. If I don't like you, I will tell you to your face, I don't like you. You will know if I don't like you. And I will tell you why I don't like you. But that doesn't mean I wish harm on you. I just don't like you. I don't like your attitude. I don't like your actions. Your actions is what I don't like. That's how I treat people in my life. If somebody says I look like shit today, I'm going to say, yes, you do look like shit today. I'm going to tell you the truth. Everyone should be able to take constructive criticism. But don't attack people's character intentionally so you can hurt them. And then that person will retaliate against you and then go report you to authorities and make false allegations against you. That's also a sin, by the way. Making false allegation against someone is big, huge sin. Gossiping is a sin. Tarot cards is a sin. Witchcraft is a sin. Going to people telling your fortune. You think that person, when she dies or he dies, right? Do you think their grave is going to be different than everyone else's grave? It's going to be the same exact size. Same exact grave. So why are you giving ear to demons? Why are you giving ear to demons? Especially when you have a case, open case. You go to a tarot card reader, a witchcraft. So where is God? You think God's going to say, okay, yeah, baby, I love you, my darling. I'm going to save you now. No, he gave us our choices to make. He gave us a brain to think with. Why do you think Satan wants you numbed? Because this doesn't function. It doesn't function. So take care of you and humble yourself and pray, and you will see the right results. But do not just pray to get what you want, because God knows your heart. God knows your heart, and he knows what your intentions are. So you're supposed to praise him in the bad and in the good. God, I always think of the lion's den. Daniel, when he entered the lion's den, Everybody that entered it died, were eaten alive, except Daniel, because he kneeled down and he trusted in God. The lions became his friends, and the king couldn't believe how could that happen. But the person that lied against him, the false witness, when the king found out that he did this based on deception and lies, he threw him in the lion's den and they ate him up. See, our actions is what gets us to where we are. If someone warns you about a husband to be, don't marry him. If you have more than one person telling you there's something wrong with them, don't do it. Don't do it, because that's God sending you people to say, hey, don't do it. He's not good for you. He's not equally yoked with you. People are so blinded right now in America because they took God away from America. When I came to America, I came to a Christian America. I didn't come to this chaos. I came to conservative families and family life, family style. I don't know when drugs were introduced in the world, to be honest with you. I really don't. I'm naive when it comes to drugs because I'm learning as I go. But like mushroom, for example, my friend told me mushroom is a drug, and I was freaking out because I love to eat mushrooms. And I'm like, how is that a drug? But why are they selling it? And she was cracking up. But there's so much shit out there, so much drugs, so much craziness, and they're dragging us with them. You have to be strong enough to stand firm. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Do not exaggerate with your answers. That's the problem we get ourselves into. You speak to a social worker, you start exaggerating. The social worker asks you one question. Do you do drugs? Well, I did drugs when I was 16, but you know what? Oh, well, marijuana is legal, so I don't see that as a problem. That's too much. Do you do drugs? No, ma'am. When was the last time you did drugs? I don't do drugs, ma'am. That's your no. Let your no be no, and let your yes be yes. If the social worker said, your mother told me you've done drugs last year, that's a way of her turning you against your mom. That's what you guys don't understand. Oftentimes, to separate you from family. Because in order for them to win and conquer you, they have to separate you. Why do you think Satan does the separation first? The separation from God first. He separates us from God by putting a thought in our head that God doesn't exist or God is not there. Or if God loves you, he wouldn't put you through pain. God didn't put you through pain. God didn't do that. We put him through pain. Our actions pain him. The creator of heaven and earth, he's in pain for us. Because people don't understand that the freaking hell was not made for us. It was made for Satan and the fallen angels. But because of our sin, that's why God gave us Jesus. That's what people don't understand. And you guys tend to believe so much in science, tend to believe so much in this. That's crazy shit. Because we were not created by the stars and the falling objects from the sky or the universe or whatever, or mammals. That's ridiculous. If you see how your heart works, how your liver works, how your kidney works, how your brain functions, how every senses we have connects to something in our heart. You guys have no idea that if we all come together in unity and love for one another, true love, the trueness of love, we can conquer the world. And if you guys pray, more than one praying together, whoa, you just have victory right there. That's why Satan wants us silent. You guys need to listen. But don't listen to rap music. All this bullshit in your head. All this negative witchcraft all over. That's insanity. Let your ears hear gospel songs, praising songs. What is this boogie boogie or whatever the hell rap is nowadays? Or they say that they degrade women. That's crazy shit. Crazy. That's our what young generation hear this shit? And how they degrade God, they humiliate God. Look what happened in Brazil. They had a parade on February 28th, I believe. Or I could be wrong on February. It was in February of this year. They had a parade parading the devil. Big, huge statue. Satan. Worshipping him. They had Jesus on the street where the devil is dragging Jesus on the street, humiliating him. The second day, go watch what happened to the country. Go watch. God is not mocked. The system, the government thinks they're above the law. But what they don't understand, the laws of God is above them. So with your prayers and your sincere heart to really know God, all you have to do is ask him and he will reveal himself. But ye here have to be pure, have to be sincere. You have to want that. You can't do it because someone told you to do it. You have to be ready to do it. But in order for you to be ready to do it, you have to stop all the bullshit you're doing in your life. That's what needs to stop. That social worker, she's not bigger than God. Your God is way bigger than that. So instead of you complaining about your problems, why don't you tell your problems about who your God is? That's what you need to do. You need to tell your situation who your God is. That's how you need to address this craziness. That's how you need to address this chaotic shit that's going on with the government. And also, by the way, when all these government officials go, they will all die, right? Once they die, they're still going to be buried the same way. Body's going to decay the same way. Not because they're government officials that their body's going to take a while. No. The worms eat it the same exact way. As poor, as rich as you are, you're all going to see the same results. God is not fascinated by your bank account. God is fascinated by your heart and what you do. The devil will attack the good. He will not attack the bad. You know why? Because they're already bad. Why would he attack them? He's just going to make them richer. He's going to give them delusional money, delusional wealth, delusional title of importance. But it doesn't last. You guys need to understand this. God exists. Government is not above God. None of them can survive without God. So God, sun shines on the bad and the good. He loves the sinner. He hates the sin. Because the sinner, you can't hate. You can only hate the sin. So walk by example for people to see. But don't wear a cross. And don't go show your titties and your ass and shaking it doggy style and call yourself Christian. That doesn't work that way. So either you stop your behavior and stop making money for these delusional corporations. or you're just going to stay in the same situation for the rest of your life and no changes will happen in your world. This is just a bit of advice I'm giving you guys. You take it or leave it. I can't make anyone do it. But you have to be willing to listen and use common sense. Because common sense is not taught in our schools. So use common sense and see what you want, what kind of results you want in your life. Like I had a guy the other day said, I have faith in Mr. Davis. Like, yeah, he's great. He's the best attorney I know. But have more faith in God. Because God uses Davis for all of us. That's what you guys don't understand. So we pray for Attorney Davis, for God to be with him, to guide him, to speak for him, meaning every word that comes out of his mouth is God wants it to be out. That's what you guys need to think, not to give praise to one man or a woman, because we are nothing without God. Nothing. And I hope my message gets across. I hope you guys choose the right way. And these social workers, when demons know you, they see the light in you, they're going to fear you. A demon cannot stand the light. A demon can only survive in the darkness. That's why Jesus said, always have your lamp on, because you never know when the time is up. So you need to be prepared, and you need to wise up, and you need to think clearly without drugs, without alcohol, none of that shit. Because there's a huge difference. When you are clear-minded, you see clearly. When you are drunk, and when you are medicated, and when you are delusional, you don't see clearly. And that's the message I want to make sure you guys hear. And I don't know why I said it, but I don't know. I just said it. So, Lizzie, if you have anything you want to add, please add. Dr. Fowler, if you have anything you want to say, please say it. I'm sorry I took too long. I apologize, you guys. I honest to God, I just
You didn't take too long, Georgette. You spoke what God had put on your heart to speak, and that's what matters.
you know what? I like that.
I also, when I'm in my better self, I pray for all of the people involved in this, for the Most High to cause them to be recalled to their divine purpose. We were all sent here to love, and to love divinely. And before I go into the courtroom, even, I remind myself that the Lord is in his and her tabernacle. The courtroom is not the seat of man, is actually the seat of the Lord. It's the Lord's tabernacle. And let the Lord's words be open, and the tongues of angels abide in that place and everywhere that we are when I'm in my right mind.
Dr. Fowler, if I may, I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Sure.
Tahmin Royal, you wrote, okay, so why God didn't protect us? He did.
Mm-hmm.
God did protect you, young lady. God did protect you.
Mm-hmm.
He sent his only son to cleanse your sins and everybody else's sins, because God's wrath was right away. He punished immediately.
Also, if I may comment to Timin Royal, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Mhm.
It is easy when you're in so much distress to forget the love of God, to forget the comfort of God, to forget to comfort others, to forget how sometimes the way to heal your pain is to go and sit with someone else in the reservoir of their own pain and distress. But think of it this way, Timin Royal, you can't see a thought, but you know that they're always with you. You can't see feelings. You can't smell feelings, but you know that they are very real.
Mm-hmm.
So there is never a time when God is not. And there is never a time when you are not like our Creator, and that is divine.
If you guys read the Bible, God didn't say, I am going to put you on earth with no problems. Earth was not meant for that until Adam and Eve sinned. Well, actually, I blame it on Eve. I don't blame it on Adam. Adam just was a sucker. He just took it. But, and I'm a woman. I can say that. Okay. Eve is the one that was misled by Satan. Surely you will not die. The tree of, the tree, the apple, whatever you want to call it, the fruit, the tree of knowledge. But when God tells us not to do something and we go against him, what did he say? You think God didn't know she sinned? But when she heard the voice of God, her and Adam, they felt ashamed. Number one, shame. They felt ashamed. Why did they feel ashamed? Because now they have knowledge. Before, God gave them the earth, animals, food, vegetables, water. They didn't know bad and good. They just know, they didn't know bad. They only knew good. That's it. But God is so merciful also. And he said, I'm going to cleanse you guys. But in order for him to do that, he had to send us something. Someone to teach us how to walk and how to behave. Because killing and violence is not from God. God cannot be in an unholy place. If your life is chaotic and you're introducing yourself and your family to chaos and drugs and alcohol and bad company, God is not in the midst of that. God is in the midst of cleanness, holiness. Satan is in the midst of the darkness. So if you believe Satan exists, God exists. You can't have just Satan and not God. You can't have God without Satan, because he is the fallen angel. So therefore, he exists. But in order for him to destroy God's heart, to win, he has to take as many of his children with him. Look what you're doing over your child. You're crying over your child. God is our heavenly Father. He cries for us. He doesn't want us to go to hell, but Satan does. That's why he entices you. He makes sin looks amazing. He makes sin looks delicious. See, I don't go for that shit. I don't go for that. All these people out there that have been to clubs, and I've never been to a club in my life. I don't do that crap.
Same here, Georgette. I've never been either. I don't want to go either. Not
I
interested.
don't understand. What is that shaking your booty and drinking and then people touching you and all this? Girl, please. You guys think that's fun. It's not fun. So if somebody shoots you in a club, you're going to say to me, well, if God is here, why didn't he help me? Well, God didn't say go to an unholy place and a sinful place and then ask for help. You had to use your mind.
Or the other one is, why didn't God protect me while I was there? Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious of what they're doing. I mean, God's not going to be in the midst of all that.
I might also
Yes,
mention, I also mentioned,
Hold on. Yes, Tahmin, I am from the Middle East. I am a Coptic Christian Egyptian. And I am proud. Go ahead.
it's okay. I was just going to add that for your viewers who are believers and who haven't been to their congregations lately, that
Because
sounds-
the chaos.
it sounds like a platitude and maybe it sounds like a cliche, but you might want to try going back to your house of worship,
It's not,
wherever that, for
but the
those
house
who,
of worship could be your home too, Dr. Fowler.
sure, of course,
Yeah.
wherever, whatever your worship life is, but
Mm-hmm.
also congregational life,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's online or in person or even in the imaginative realm,
Mm-hmm.
is another way for us to find comfort and ease because we're
Mhm.
supposed to be together.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us live in isolation, and we were told not to go to church, and churches were closed, and we were barred from gathering together. I find myself that that is really essential. I don't know where I would be without congregational life, without coming together with others who are singing and praying, giving praise
Honestly,
and
I honestly
tribute
feel
to
that
each
you
other.
should have a one-on-one with God first. That's what I believe. Have one-on-one with God first, and tell God this: I don't know you. I hear people say things about you, but I don't know you. Help me know you. But you have to be sincere when you ask Him. And believe me, what you're gonna see is going to amaze you because
Amen.
I have seen miracles happen, and I have seen, oh my God, I have seen wonderful things happen, and as a child, and that's why no matter what circumstances I'm in, I will never ever deny God, ever, because I know I got there for a reason. I made a bad choice over someone I chose to be in my life, and that is what hinder us, is the choices we make. That's what hinders us. Go ahead, Liz.
What I was going to say there regarding what you were saying there, Georgette, is how asking God to show Himself, you might not know Him, but asking Him to show Himself to you, that may not happen right there and then.
Reveal
That may
Himself.
not, yeah, that may
The
not happen
Holy
then.
Spirit happens. No, I disagree with you, Liz. First of all, there's a reason why we have the Holy Spirit, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. And I remember my dad and my mom told me one time, God forgives every sin except the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit. And I asked them, what is the Holy Spirit? And they explained it to me as a child. You guys take that lightly. This is serious. Because if you guys die not repenting and not knowing what you're doing, you're going to wish you're back on earth. And you're going to wish you could make a difference. When you ask God to reveal Himself to you, He knows you better than you know yourself. And He will reveal Himself to you the way He knows you're going to understand and see. We are all different. Like my mom had 5 of us. We're all different. And I asked my mom, why are we all different, Mom? We came from you and Dad. She said, look at your fingers. And I looked at my fingers and she said, do you have any crooked fingers? Are they all the same? I said, no, Mom, this one is fat. This one is kind of crooked. And I was maybe 10 years old or 11 years old. And then she said, see, it's one body, but your fingers are not the same. How can your sisters and your brothers be the same? We all are different, but I know each one of you. I know exactly how each one of you are. So therefore, if our own mother knows us, if you know your own child, how can God not know you as an individual? So see, God will reveal Himself to you according to who you are. Where you can see that in the middle of this, the devil is going to try to hinder you from knowing that, from hearing that, from seeing that. So you need to change here so you'll be able to be clear up here. You can't go to the dark, in the darkness, and go to the light and you expect results. You have to take the darkness away and you have to be in the light. and tell God to help you. Whatever addiction you have, tell God to help you. Tell him to help you. He listens. Believe me, he listens. See, I choose love over money. Most people think I'm nuts, but I choose to live according to my needs, not wants, needs. Because if I am too rich, that might spoil me. I might be a spoiled woman. So as long as I have a roof over my head and food in the refrigerator and gas in my car, I don't care about the rest because I'm not taking any of that with me. If God takes me now, I'm not taking anything with me. So why do I worry about this shit? So if I love something I do, I'm in love with my job. It might not be, you know, 20,000 a month job, you know what I mean? But I'm in love with what I do. I have passion for what I do. So that's what I'm talking about, you guys. We need to choose love before anything else. And I hope I'm making sense to at least some of you. Some of you. But don't discredit God because he exists. I don't care what scientists say. I don't care what atheists say. I don't care what social workers say. I don't care what the court says. Even though they remove God, but then why do you have people swear under oath? Tell the truth, the whole truth. So help me God. So which God are you swearing to? It can't be our God because you guys don't do anything right. You're corrupt. So it has to be their God. And their God is Satan. That's not normal what they do. The court system is corrupt from everywhere. Family court, minors' councils are corrupt. Therapists are corrupt. Social workers are corrupt. Judges are corrupt. A minors' council in a family court case, just so you guys know, we went to court for the other day, me and Davis, believes the father, who is a narcissist, hurting his daughters, brainwashing them not to love the mom, alienating them from the mom. The minors' council is so stupid. She can't see or understand or comprehend who and what she's dealing with. She doesn't have discernment. The reason we are so screwed up is because we ask for things and money and fame and luxury instead of asking God for wisdom and discernment. Discernment is much more rich. You having discernment, you are the richest person on the face of the earth because you can discern between evil and good. And you can discern between a bullshitter and a straight shooter. To me, that is power. That is power. And tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know I'm not wrong. That is power. If Dr. Fowler has somebody sitting next to her right now, and she discerns that person, discerns it, knows who she's dealing with, she's going to use wisdom to deal with this person. Without wisdom and discernment, you're shit. I don't care if you have $1 trillion in your bank account. You're shit. You have nothing. If you don't have God in your heart, you're shit too. You have nothing. Absolutely nothing. So you go ahead, some of you that want to remain in the dark, but don't come and complain and blame God for your bullshit that you created and you continue to do in your life. And that's all I need to say. So, guys, thank you for hearing me. And let's keep it real. That's real talk. I speak my mind. And that's why I really wanted this show to be called Real Talk with Miss G and the Gang. You guys are more than welcome to come on the show if you want to be guest, or if you want to co-host, that's fine too. We will do rotation with the co-hosting, and you guys can be part of the gang and part of the message out there. Okay? Is you guys want to leave a last do you want to say something before we go, Dr. Fowler and Lizzie?
Only thank you. Thank you to your viewers. Thank you, Lizzie. God bless you, sweetheart.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Georgette. I do agree with Dr. Fowler there. I just want to say thank you. And definitely all these people out here that are dealing with CPS, please understand that they are not your friend. They are not your friend. They are your enemy.
Mhm.
Don't take them lightly. Don't take them like, oh yeah, we'll just do this, this, and this, and everything will be fine. Now make sure you get an attorney at the beginning, because that's going to be a big help, and making sure it's the right attorney. That's going to be a big, big key. Is must be the right kind of attorney, because if it's not the right kind of attorney, they're not licensed in the family setting, court rules, especially with CPS directly. It's not going to be much help for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want people to understand that getting the right attorney is going to be one key big help in their case. And that making sure you get your attorney promptly when it happens.
Yeah, right away. Not don't wait. A lot of people wait. Please do not wait, because, for example, if you are in the beginning of the case, you didn't talk to the social worker, or you received was a call, a message, and a card on your door, lawyer up. Your retainer will be way less than you can ever imagine. But if you open your mouth to the social worker, interacted with the social worker, went to the first hearing with the social workers, went to CFT meetings with social workers, you're done. Don't expect to be treated the same way as if you didn't, because now you
Correct.
lost your case.
Yep. And I'm definitely saying that as an experienced one going through that myself. And that's why I'm encouraging everybody, just lawyer up before you do any more at all. Please lawyer up and make sure you have that right lawyer. That's another reason I'm saying that, because if you don't, you're just pretty much hindering your entire rest of your case.
Mhm.
I don't want to see people do that.
Right. You need a juvenile dependency attorney. Mr. Davis, for example, he's everything attorney. He's been doing it for 37 years. He's like, I call him the Godfather, you know? He knows everything. He knows landlord, he knows divorce, he knows juvenile, he knows civil, he knows everything. Now, that's the kind of guy you want. But when there's a law firm you're calling and they have attorneys, most law firms would have CPS attorneys and family law attorneys and criminal attorneys and civil attorneys. So you can't mix the two, especially juvenile and family law. Truthfully, I've never seen one of our attorneys go to juvenile cases who is a family law attorney. They don't know what to do. So that's what Liz was trying to tell you guys. Focus on juvenile dependency attorneys. If you have a juvenile case, if you have a family law case, focus on a family law attorney, but make sure in the middle of your family law case or the beginning of your family law case, make sure it doesn't turn into a juvenile dependency case. And I'm going to tell you how that happens to, wait, today is Friday. What am I thinking? On Thursday next week. Because we have a lot of cases who begin as family law case, custody and divorce, and turns into a juvenile dependency case. And then where you're in the middle of a trial in family court and juvenile takes it from you, meaning, well, these are not your kids anymore. We're going to take them now. So they're higher courts. So there's a lot of things that happen during high conflict divorces and custody. So I want to discuss that with you guys so that way you guys are aware not to behave the way you behave during custody and high conflict divorces. Okay? So good night. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for hearing me out. Thank you, Dr. Fowler, as usual. And thank you, my Lizzie. I love you, Dan. I know he's in the background.
He actually just left.
Oh, you did tell him I love him.
Thank you so much, Madam Truen, and to all of your viewers. God bless you all.
And you guys watch the show tonight at 7 p.m. with Attorney Davis and me and Cassandra. Okay.
Until we meet again, all the best. Mariana.
Bye.
See ya. Thank you all.
Bye, sweetie.
Bye.